So as I said, the second panel, again, we are building on the fact that AWARD and others have been working very hard to make the women visible, competent, and all those nice things that we would like to see. But at the same time, recognizing that if the environment, if the terrain is not level, then they cannot thrive, they can only survive. I've also said that, fortunately though, the impact of AWARD is being felt based on peer comparison. Those who have gone through AWARD, and you've just seen an example, the latest, the youngest example of what that competency building can do. So this panel now focuses on finding resources and investments to continue doing that work. So I would like first to invite, ladies and gentlemen, a lady who is not really originally from Africa, but is probably as African as they get. She started her career in New York and did many things in between. And at some point, she came to Africa and worked in West Africa for Africa Online. How many of you know what Africa Online is or was? So that's a technology firm. She also worked for Educational Research Network for West and Central Africa, and subsequently landed the job of director of her current institution for West and Central Africa, African Regional Office. She is currently the director of that institution in Sub-Saharan Africa and is based in Nairobi. That institution is called the International Development Research Center, IDRC, and that person whom I'm asking you to help me welcome is Dr. Catherine Toure. Thank you, Catherine. You don't even need the steps, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm not sure whether he was born and raised in that country, but he worked in his early career days at the University of Botswana in the Department of Chemistry, rose to the rank of associate professor there, and was head of Department of Chemistry at some point. Subsequently, he was the CEO of the Botswana Institute for Technology Research and Innovation. He holds a PhD in analytical chemistry, and he is the current executive director of the African Academy of Sciences, and his name is Nelson Toto. Nelson, please welcome. He has a master's in chemical engineering, a PhD in molecular biology and genetics, both of them from the Catholic University Leuven in Belgium. He recently, not very long ago, was actually the representative of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in West Africa. Before that, he was working for the African Agricultural Technology Foundation based in Nairobi, where he was the senior program officer and senior program officer. He was stolen from the foundation, from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation recently. I haven't asked them what they feel about it, but he was stolen from there to join and become the director of Biosciences Eastern and Central Africa, which is a platform, a shared platform, state-of-the-art platform for research in biosciences with a big focus on agriculture. Where is the current director? Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Jacob Miguna of Becker ILRI Hub. So Becker, and I'll start with Becker as you sit down. Some of you may know Becker. This is the Biosciences Eastern and Central Africa, as an institution that was set up just about 17 years ago. I happen to have been the founding director, so I know a little bit about it. And this platform was set up to provide a platform where African scientists could come and do their thing without going to Europe or North America and getting lost and not coming back. And the idea was that this would be managed by, but not owned by, the International Livestock Research Institute. So I said it because I'm going to ask questions around that momentarily. So Jacob, first of all, I would like to start by asking you the question: to what extent is ILRI, and by extension Becker, committed to ensuring that access to that facility, in terms of people coming to do their work, but also the training courses that this facility provides, and the fellowships that this facility provides, to what extent is Becker and ILRI committed to ensuring that women are deliberately, intentionally brought in, given the micro-inequities that we've been talking about this morning?
Thank you very much, Ed. Good morning, everybody. Clearly, before I delve into the question, I would like, first of all, to briefly tell you what the biosciences, once again, the biosciences in Eastern Central Africa is all about, and the genesis of the biosciences, which you know quite well, which was a co-creation of the African Union, NEPAD, the New Partnership for African Development, and the International Livestock Research Institute, ILRI, with the aim of providing shared bioscience facilities to African scientists, both male and female, of course, to advance the agricultural transformation on the continent. Since Becker ILRI Hub is managed by ILRI and therefore governed in terms of policies for gender of ILRI, so clearly, as Becker ILRI Hub, we try as much as we can to make sure that we set very high targets for women participation on the platform, both as a scientist and as well as helping or providing skills, soft skills, training courses in the area of biosciences. For that, clearly, Becker ILRI Hub is doing quite well. So for the past 8 years, for instance, in terms of numbers, to cover that, we have...
Can you just hold on that? First of all, I would like to know whether there is something that one can refer to when one comes there and say, why are you not allowing me in and allowing all these men in? What do I refer to as a commitment? Is there a document? Is there anything that states that we will try to kind of...
Yes, in the sense that our overall gender policy at Becker ILRI Hub, there's a clear and focused intention to promote women, both in terms of numbers as well as in terms of research. For instance, that we have integration, empowering, or mainstreaming and gender in our research as well as in human resources.
Okay. So what do the numbers kind of show now?
Since the program started in terms of building the capacities of African scientists, we are talking about 334 fellows who come on the platform to carry out 6 or 9 months of their research on the platform. After the 334, we have 115 women, which translates to 34%.
34%.
Yes. So this is the fellows.
Okay.
So,
thank you. I'll come back to you momentarily. And I just want to follow, because there's some similarity I want to follow with, with Nelson. So Nelson, the African Academy of Sciences, as any other Academy of Science, sees itself as really at the pinnacle of science, and membership is only for the cream of the lot.
yes.
So this is a very good place to go, whether to check whether there is a problem with the cream. So the question I would like to ask you, before I ask you the main question, is what do the numbers show in terms of membership of the academy when you look at African men, African women? This is an academy of sciences. What do the numbers show?
Well, I think you know the answer.
No, I don't know the answer. Tell us.
Look, let me just say that I think we are coming from a very emotional session due to the presentation, and allow me to hang my tears to dry. But in terms of the cream of the cream, Madam President is here. She's a fellow of the Academy, and it's a reflection of where we are operating and how we are operating.
Yes.
The Academy has got the best of the best in terms of men and women from the continent. Yeah.
And the numbers?
Well, the numbers have not looked as good as they should. We are roughly at about 85%, 86% men, and the remainder being women. This is something that is of concern to me and everyone else who is in the Academy, and I'm sure we can talk about how we are trying to address that.
We'll come back to that shortly. So this is, so far this morning, the most evasive kind of response. but we'll come back to that. So I would like to go to Catherine. So Catherine, as I was saying, just looking at your profile, you're quite familiar with the landscape on this continent, and I think your passion also shows in terms of the trail of work that you've done. But so let's come back. I'll come back to you as a person, but let's go to the institution, which is what the discussion is about. How is IDRC supporting women in science, if at all?
To step forward and not be timid, you have to be sometimes prepared.
Okay,
Just
go ahead.
a quick tribute to those who go before us. Dr. Amina, for reminding us to put aside our timidities and to continually step forward, even when we might be tired and want to take a rest, every day getting up and stepping forward. And to, I don't know if I should call her my big sister or my aunt, but to Dr. Stella as well, where it took 25 years to do what should have been done in 10 years. Thanks for stepping forward every day. Now, what was the question?
Catherine, I forget.
So what do we do for women at IDRC?
Women in science, yes.
Hopefully in another question I can answer what we do for fellows and things like that, but I'd just like to say a word about what we're calling gender transformative research at IDRC. So the idea is that we have so little money for research in the world, and if we continually invest the research in research that is gender blind, then we're investing money in areas that might not necessarily contribute to the transformations that we need to see. So at IDRC, we're far from perfect, but because of Canada's Feminist International Assistance Policy and because of our commitment to societal transformation, we try to not to invest in any research that is gender blind. So all research has to be at least gender sensitive, or aware, or responsive, and I won't go into those definitions. But we also want part of the portfolio of the projects that we fund to be what we call gender transformative. So what does that mean? We ourselves are trying to learn by studying our own portfolio of projects, where we have gender transformative research lessons from IDRC done by sistersinc.ca, where they looked at some of our caseload and did 6 case studies. So basically, gender transformative research needs to get at the root causes of discrimination. And just a couple of things about gender transformative research, because we can't say all about it in a couple of minutes. But when we do gender transformative research, we try to avoid gender fade. And I know you've all seen gender fade. We're doing this research and we're gender responsive and we have women at the table and all of this. But then by the time you get to your methodology, by the time you get to your implementation, we don't see gender anymore. And so that means by the time you get to the research results, you don't see gender anymore as well.
Okay.
So promoting gender transformative research is one thing that we do.
Okay. So can you just push a little bit? And I'm sure that like any investor, you look at numbers at the end of the day. So when you look at numbers, what do they say in terms of impacts and outcomes and impacts of the many investments that you've made? Are you happy? And what is your measure? What are the metrics of that happiness?
So for that question, I would like to mention some Pan-African approaches to supporting women in science, because I think that's really a way to support women in science. And AWARD is an example of a Pan-African, there goes my preparation. AWARD is an example of a Pan-African initiative to support women in science, because we know the importance of networking. We know the importance of people from Zambia mixing with people from Namibia, mixing with people from Benin and Togo, and not just going to Canada or Europe for studies. So at IDRC in Canada supports the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences, because if you look at the STEM fields, mathematics is an area where we don't have enough women. So there's just 2 or 3 things that I appreciate about the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences. One, they've graduated over 1,700 students with masters, and as far as numbers, 1/3 of them, or 31%, are women. So how do you get 31% of your students to be women when you're doing mathematics in Africa? Part of the approach at AIMS is to put aside standardized testing, because standardized testing has this aura of objectivity, right? We're going to do a standardized exam and we're going to attract the very best, the cream of the crop. But then we know that within the standardized testing, there are inbuilt biases that are going to eliminate many good and deserving people. So that's partly, AIMS insists on approaches like that. They know how to identify potential by looking at the candidates' applications and talking to their university professors. But then the other things that they do are they don't just teach mathematics. They teach mathematics applied in the African context and it's highly contextualized. Should I be stopping soon? I could go on about AIMS for a lot more, but it's also, if you go to Rwanda or you go to Senegal, you don't just find students from Rwanda or Senegal, you find students from across the continents who are mixed up together. And then they support them through mentoring, through industry linkages, through internships, and many of the other things that we've been talking about today.
Thank you. Thank you for using one case study and demonstrating how you do the thing. Thank you so much. I'll come back to you, Nelson. And I hope you'll give us some figures here. Okay. No, actually, the question that I have is maybe one that calls upon you to be a little bit more analytical. And so the question is, what do you think are the factors today? I mean, most African countries are more than 50 years, many are 60, 70 years since independence. Yeah. So what are the factors that are responsible for your cream to be lacking in a very important element in a cream, and the element is called women? what are the factors as opposed to just the numbers? Because that's the result, that's what we see. But what are the causes?
You know, thank you very much for that question. And on a serious note, you know, when I was coming here this morning, I was listening to BBC and they had 3 interviews. One was for my former president of Botswana on his drive on HIV/AIDS. The second one was relating to a Kenyan who now plays football for the national team, who is female. And she said that for her to be able to express her talents, she had to have the courage to join a football team where there were only boys. And for the tournament, she was the highest scorer for that tournament. That was the second story. The third story that BBC reported today was an interview with a South African medical student. Apparently, they are a group of friends, 6 black, and in South Africa, black means it's very important. I know that people know that in Africa we are black, but in South Africa, being black and female is very important at a medical school. Yeah. So the 6 of them had a pact, and they say to themselves, we want to graduate as doctors at the end of the 7-year period. In a week's time, the 6 girls are going to graduate. But what they have done is that they themselves made this their own personal agenda. They put themselves up on Facebook, they were posting different things on Facebook. Just like our previous phenomenal speaker, they have been able to bring themselves in a position where today they were being interviewed by BBC. So what I'm saying, fundamentally, it's at a personal level sometimes. You know, I think we have to find it within ourselves to have the courage. I've always said to Madam President that, you know, she has got exceptional leadership, but now I want to elevate it and say she has got exceptional courage. I think it's the courage that we need. And these girls were saying that, you know, one of the things that they experience being black and being medical doctors, excelling like everyone else, in a school that only has got, I think when they enrolled there were 9 black females, I think in a huge group of students, that when they go around in the wards, the patients and everyone else, they see them as nurses because they're female. So again, it means that societal perceptions, they have to take a turnaround. You know, so it's within us, amongst us, that we have to change to allow some of these creams to blossom. Because I don't think it's everyone who has got the perseverance that others have. Others don't have the perseverance, others don't have the environment that supports them in a manner that they should be supported. And because of that, we know that, I mean, our experience as former professors is that, you know, when the girl child starts having children, the progression in terms of science won't be the same as the man. You get married, your life is still the same, but when the woman gets married, the life changes completely. So again, how do we provide a supporting environment that can allow the girl child to, in fact, be present? Okay. So that's the
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll push you back a little bit, my brother. And the pushback is the following. I think it is very, I mean, for people like you who are in very, very, I would say, instrumental positions. So it is very easy, even over a drink, over coffee, to do what you've just done, which is to say why it is not happening. But what I want to hear from you is, as the Academy of Sciences, what this is now the institution that actually shape things. You have access sometimes to resources. You actually determine ways through which people enter into that high profile. What are you doing, not what needs to be done?
So, you know, I've been the ED of the Academy for just over a year now. When I came in, I was not proud when I saw the numbers. So I said, as my priority, I want to make sure that there are as many women fellows as there should be. So what did I do? I told my team that, you know, let's broadcast this clear message that I know that given the number of fellows that we have, you know, 396, everyone knows a female, so we can nominate 396. There are some people who know 2 females, so it means the number will increase. Yeah. Some will know 3 females, some will know 4, some 5. So I want to see that reflected in terms of the nominations. In 2011, there were 3 female fellows of the Academy. In 2012, the number rose to 8. In 2013, it rose to 15. And then it rose to 2022. and so forth and so forth.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
at the end of last year, we had 57 women.
Okay.
Never ever in the life of the academy have we ever had more than 50 nominations for female fellows. But in the round that has just gone this year, we had 62 nominees.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I take back what I said earlier. But we will talk still. Okay, so Jacob, the same question or similar question. I think sometimes we pride ourselves in saying we have 30% and we're good. And that's what we've just done. You've said, maybe because it was 31%, that's why you were happy. But people in this room, including myself, I'm not happy because I would like to see 51%. There was a reference to the fact that on this continent, in fact, we don't have a gender ratio of 50-50. It is actually 50-something women and 40-something men. So and we are talking about cream in terms of a platform that is really a cream on this continent to do really cutting-edge research, particularly in agricultural sciences. It is Becca. It is. There's none like that. It is the closest next one is in South Africa. So how can the cream, that was a cream too, but how can the cream be proud with 30%? What is the institution doing very intentionally to change that? And for example, create a very deliberate kind of set of numbers that you want to achieve. What are you guys doing?
Thank you very much, Ed. You rightly put it, the target clear in the sense that, as I said, we are aiming towards at least the parity of 50-50, bringing in scientists and women scientists on the high-end bioscience platform. For that, in addition to the fellowship, we have other training courses, like workshops. For the past 8 years, we have over 1,000 African scientists, male and female, coming on the platform. And for that, we are around 35 to 40%. But there's some key areas, like when we have some courses like in bioinformatics and genetics or genomics, the number of applicants, the female applicants are lower compared to the number of male. We try as much as possible to attract, although the positions are open, but we don't get the numbers. So which means that we have to go back and make sure that we have enough numbers who can be able to apply. Even by taking 100% of all the female applicants, we are not able to get those numbers. So basically, the way we are trying to address it is, first of all, using the partners to be able to take the information so that they know that, yes, these opportunities exist. So this is one option. And the second is through also our partner to be able to nominate more scientists to the platforms. And I think one point I would like also the audience is to bear in mind is that we need to start at the universities to also bring in the fact that women can be best in the biosciences and then raise the numbers of our sisters and our daughters in the area of bioscience. Then that will create the pipeline to be able to fit in that platform.
Thank you. So I just want to, one more thing with you on this. We know that the competition is very tough, particularly for the competitive kind of slots. And the numbers of women who apply is few. And then they compete with these people who do not have some of the baggage that pull women back. So maybe they have more time to apply. Maybe they have a lot of people around them to support them and all that. But what we see is just what ends up in Becca to be used to kind of compare them. Wouldn't it be possible that actually Becca has a fund that is dedicated to women so that women are competing amongst women? and therefore removing these other obstacles which you cannot control because they're happening back home where these women are. Is that a possibility, and what would it take?
And certainly is a possibility. And the one thing I would like also to highlight clearly is, as a baker, we're able to put on a scheme to try to help women who come for training. Because as we know, women may have some challenges, like having a baby, for instance. And we had the opportunity to have a woman who gave even birth, a baby baker, while she was at the baker. So we put all the facilities to help her, even and her husband, which is unique. Yeah. So this is the type of action that we put in place to support the women. In terms of fund, so clearly, yes, this is also something that we are looking forward, having more resources to be able to more specifically targeting women onto the platform. So, yeah.
So in this room, I'm sure there are funders and investors in ARD, in agricultural research and development. So I'm actually looking at the crowd and saying, if you want to live here with something that you really will be proud of, and you are a funder, create women's fund to access some of these facilities, including award fellowship, facilities that are very hard for women to get into, not because of their capacity and competence, but because of the micro inequities that exist from the point of being prepared, from the point of preparing, from the point of application. What can we do collectively? So I would like to go back to Catherine. And Catherine, I would just want to ask, perhaps, you have a lot of experience as IDRC, but also you as an individual, because of the fact that you've been in the system for quite a while. Based on those lessons and examples you gave, and kind of coming from the kind of questions I was asking over here, what could IDRC do differently?
Question to refer back to what Dr. Amina said about leaving the beaten pathway and trying to chart some new courses. And that also allows me to tell one or two personal stories, because Patricia was talking about the importance of personal stories. So when I was at university, I was offered a scholarship to pursue mathematics. Oh, because I love math and geometry and all of that. But then I was intimidated, and I said, oh, if I take a scholarship to study mathematics, does that mean that I have to stop my love for literature and take fewer literature classes? What about my interest in the social sciences? Because I ultimately studied political science and then education. So I refused the scholarship because I thought that it would box me in a way that I did not want to be boxed in. So that leads me to talk about STEAM. We've all heard about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and who knows about STEAM? Some of us in the room, all of us in the room, most of us, some of us. So STEAM is merely adding the arts to STEM. This could be important for attracting more women to science, technology, education, and mathematics. I can go into the research findings about it, or you can read The Art of Science Learning, which was published by the National Science Foundation, which has some of the research results that show the power of adding arts to STEM. So at IDRC, we would like to fund 5 STEM chairs in the developing world, or in low and middle income countries. But because we need to produce the results in these countries as well of the power of the arts for attracting more women and changing the way that we do science, actually. But then again, 5 chairs is not very much. We're willing to invest $5 million over 5 years for 5 women chairs, because you talked about the importance of having maybe some funds just for women. Mm-hmm. So we would invite other donors to converse with us at IDRC to see if we have common interests, maybe to join in. Wouldn't it be better to fund 15 over 10 years or even more, so that we have a critical mass? So that's what I'm offering up right now, since it's something, we've talked about so many things, but we haven't talked about STEM and the power of adding the arts to STEM.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for that very concrete kind of gesture and thought. Can I come back to Jacob? So Jacob, the issue about gender, the issue about women, sometimes gets so oversimplified to just numbers. But as a researcher, I know that perhaps one of the most constraining issues for women out there, smallholders, small business people, is not just numbers of women getting favored or supported. It is the relevance of research and research outputs to the context in which women work. So the question that I want to, because of what Becca is doing and the positioning of Becca, the question that I have is, to what extent, if at all, is Becca, maybe just focus on Becca because that's what you have responsibility for. Is Becca actually being very deliberate in saying we want outputs, outcomes, products that actually address this particular constraint because it is very relevant to women and nobody is looking at it?
Excellent question, Ed, and we are really looking into it in the sense that even at the Hillary level, I have my colleague here, Nicolene Dehan, who's in charge of the gender at the Hillary. The way we think, in the way we design, in the way we do research. So I mean, and my sister here, we have been discussing on how to be more focused on streamlining even our Baker Hillary Hub work, the gender component. So we'll be working with AWARD specifically to that, in addition to hosting fellow in the science. So clearly, this is something we are working on.
Final question before I give a few opportunities to the audience is back to Nelson. Oh God, you are shocked that I'm coming back. I'm sorry. So Nelson, this is a straightforward one. You've been in your position now for how many years?
Just over a year.
Just over 1 year.
Yeah.
And did you know AWARD, yes or no, before they contacted you recently?
When is recent?
You've only been here for a year. So when you landed, did you know of AWARD yet?
No, I didn't know about AWARD when I landed in Nairobi.
Okay.
But knowing and seeing how big she is, she's present. We met in Kigali for the first time at the NEF.
Okay.
And we just fell in love.
Okay.
Yeah.
So best. Oh, I love that. They just did what? They hit it off. Okay. So now that you've hit it off, and now that you know a bit about the agenda of AWARD and the way AWARD works, do you see any possibilities for AWARD working more closely, collaboratively with the academy? And what does that look like? What kinds of things could you possibly do with AWARD? I'm sorry that I'm pushing this thing about partnerships. Yeah.
No, I'm here because we are working together with AWARD.
Okay.
If I wasn't working with AWARD, I wouldn't be here. Because I think there are other important issues that I could have addressed. So I think we have started an engagement.
Okay.
It's an engagement that will grow. Okay. And obviously, I think what we are aware of is that what we want to do as an organization, there are other organizations out there who also want to do the same or have been doing the same. Okay. They have the authority in the area of women, in terms of agriculture. And for us, in terms of looking at the cream, and in terms of looking at the mentors, in terms of looking at the heroes who can actually be able to inspire others, we feel we can benefit from what they've already been doing.
Thank you.
We've been here this morning and all the stories, and they're inspiring.
Okay.
So I think for us, we are very open to learning, and seriously speaking, we want to engage as much as possible.
Thank you. So today we were asking about the women content of the cream in the academy. In a few years' time, we'll be asking of the fellows' content of the cream. It will not just be general women. It will be the women that have come in because of the links and linkages and partnership with AWARD, and that have been kind of mentored through the AWARD program. Okay, thank you so much. I would like to reserve a few minutes for any comments, questions. So I see one hand, Adrian. I see hand 2. I see hand 3. And now I can't see any other hands. And that is not by default, it is by design. I've only seen 3 hands. So hand 1 was, can I just see Adrian? Where was hand 1? Hand 2 was there. Make sure you remember that you are hand 2. Somebody will take it away from you. Okay, Adrian.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Professor Adrian Mukhebi. I'm a professor of agricultural economics at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University of Science and Technology. I'm also a mentor. My mentee, Evelyn, where are you? I haven't seen, is she here? Yeah, she told me.
This one.
Where? Oh, good, good. Glad to see you. I'll talk to you later. I'm also a spouse.
The mentorship continues.
Good. I'm also a spouse to award.
Spouse to award, I like that.
My question is to the panel or to anyone else in this room who will be able to answer it. Has anyone conducted a study or done a research to quantify productivity losses in agriculture or losses in economic growth as a result of underrepresenting the women? Because I think this would be a very powerful indicator to even encourage investments into women participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure there will be people who can speak to that in the audience, not necessarily the panel. The second hand, I'm not calling you second hand. I'm just saying.
I was worried. I'm Mary Jenga, and I'm a award fellow 2009. And what I want to say first is that it's true that the award has given us the tools to get where we wanted to be professionally. I did my PhD, my postdoc, now I'm a research scientist in bioenergy. And listening to the discussions I've had about numbers, okay, 50-50, and having listened to where I am now as a research scientist, I think something else is eating us. It's not just the numbers, but we also need to be empowered. For example, in terms of funding, it's very competitive. And what portfolio is being held by scientists, women scientists, so that we can be able to contribute to the impact, to contribute to the scientific knowledge. Then we can say women scientists have contributed this much. Do we have the same portfolio in terms of funding?
Thank you. So funding women scientists to do research, and of course research that is relevant to women as well. Thank you so much. Hand number 3. Hand number 3, yes.
Maybe I should be seen by the... Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Paul Demo. I'm the Regional Director of SIP. SIP is International Potato Center. I'm Regional Director for Africa, based here in Nairobi since July. For the past 12 years, I was a country manager of SIP in Malawi. Jacob has made, mine is a comment. Jacob has raised a challenge on reaching the number that is expected. It resonated with me because I faced the same type of difficulties when I was trying to raise the number of female staff in my team in Malawi. The number of applications is generally low. And if you go through competitions with all the applicants, it is very challenging to reach the number that is desired. And one lesson we have learned is that the strategy to really push the contribution of women, the increase in the number, will lie on having integrated strategy that does not only start at the higher level, at university level. It has to start at primary school level, at secondary school level, university, and at professional level.
Thank
and
you.
my question is,
Yes.
how can we integrate our effort, not just at the level of award, not just at the level of our own institution, how can we move to the level of EU, to the level of government, to integrate, have a very integrated approach for longer term achievement of the desired goal?
Thank you, thank you. So far we have 3, that is a comment though, and it's a comment to everybody. I'm really sorry, I've been told I've run out of time. I'm really, really sorry. But because there's a hand, we had already, okay, I'm seeing a forest of hands. And what is happening is the person carrying the hand only sees their hand. They wonder why I'm not seeing them. I'm seeing more, but just give me a minute. So we have that, we have the question of funding women, we have the question of getting the impact of not doing it right, which Adrian raised. Can I get, if you are going to say one sentence, I will give you the microphone. One sentence, please. Because I can see that passion. You might kill me as I leave this room. Just please make it really short.
Yeah, I'm Professor Fatih. Only me representing Ethiopia.
Okay, in that case, you can say 2 sentences.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My question is in line to my sister here. In my university, we have revised our legislation. Thanks for the award giving me the assertiveness to challenge my institution and changing the directives. So we have increased employment from 8% to 24%. But the challenge now is we generated access for employment for those who deserve, but access for making research, access for funding is still not yet. So the moment you have more women, you are more challenged. So I want to bring to the attention of decision makers in this forum. The second point is I'm running a PhD program, plant breeding. How can we reach the organization called what? Becca. I don't know the mechanism how to reach.
Thank you.
The third question is please allow me.
Please, no, please.
Okay, equitable sharing of resources by countries. Thank you.
So your first question relates to the question on the bioenergy lady, which was financing women. And your second question, I think other people can also pick it up. But we have someone who actually is working for an interesting kind of institution that brings resources together and uses these resources to support programs, including in Africa. So, and I saw him put up his hand. So I think he wants to respond to the resource issue. So that's the only reason you are getting this microphone. So, Oliver.
That's not the reason why I was trying to respond. Just one point. Up until now, we're assuming that the whole of Africa is Anglophone. I just want to raise the point of our Francophone sisters as well.
Yeah.
So if I don't know if we have to put that into perspective as well. So I just want to factor in, to bring into that Francophone perspective. And not only that, but also the small island states around the continent. We think about Mauritius, we think about Cape Verde, we think about Comoros. Yeah. So how do we factor in these countries which are,
So they're also traditionally marginalized. So the Francophone and the small island states is the issue there. So I would like to give please just very quickly so that we can move to the next agenda item. I'll start with Catherine.
Thanks. I could just 2 points to respond to Mary and some of the issues about funding. I agree there is a great need for funding. And I will just give one example from the IDRC experience. We're supporting the Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World, which comprises 6,600 members in the Global South. So we recently awarded 20 fellowships, and they were targeted. It was a rigorous process. You had to have industry linkages, and it was for countries where science and technology is less advanced. And we received 211 applications for 20 fellowships. So it shows the great need in this area. I agree, and one donor cannot be the solution to that. And It has to be joint efforts as well. We don't expect foreign donors to fund all of that either. And that's why IDRC supports Science Granting Council Initiative, which means science granting councils in the Francophone world, in Senegal, in Ghana, in Kenya, to grow the science granting councils at the national level, to get funds from government, and possibly to have special funds to support women researchers. So it's a joint responsibility of multiple donors.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay, over to you, Nelson, and then I come to Jacob.
I just want to agree with her in terms of combining forces. I think there are a lot of players in the continent that are playing at different level, but there's no connectivity amongst the players. So for instance, us as the African Academy of Sciences, we are really working at a higher level. But I mean, we can use Madam President to go to primary schools and inspire girls if we were to work with those people who are, working on issues that relate to primary school level type of kids.
Yeah.
So I think the connectivity for me is very, very important so that we can really generate value for money in terms of our efforts.
Okay. And as we go to Jacob, I just want to raise the question. I am allergic to responses which defer the response. So this is a very good example. So the question, I think we need to do that, is good. But I mean, can we actually talk about the mechanism through which we can start that conversation? So that when we leave here, we are saying, we in Nairobi on this date during the AWARDat10, we thought this was very important, and there's a mechanism we will. So for example, is there a role that AWARD could play in this, or somebody else in this room could play? And I'm not asking you to answer the question, because it is not you really, it is us. So I wasn't referring to just your answer specifically. Jacob.
No, there's so many questions to.
Just choose.
Okay, I'll take two. And the first one, in terms of clearly mobilizing resources to be able to do research, particularly for the women. One key element is to empower the women with the skill to be able to articulate marketable good projects of not only for the donors but also for the own government, because in each of the countries the government also put resources now for science and technology. So we at Baker, we through our alumni, so we provide this type of facilities where they come together, sit down, go through some research and be able to apply. The second component I would like to take is following the conversation, following what Olivia has said. Baker is comprised of 18 countries. They are Francophone, almost half Francophone, Anglophone. So therefore, as Baker, we really consider the Francophone and as well in our operations.
Thank you so much. So ladies and gentlemen, I've been told that I have accidentally run over time. And I would like to give back the time to the owner, Patricia. But before I do that, I just want to, first of all, thank you very much. Thank you yourselves. And then thank this fantastic panel. Thank you so much.